Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to be looking at Proxmox
Oh, cool.
with the book Mastering Proxmox, second
Mm.
edition. And yeah, this book it's a beast.
Yeah.
It's pretty big.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can kind of break it down a little bit.
Yeah, it promises to take you from, newbie to
Yeah,
guru.
guru. I mean, that's pretty ambitious.
Sort of ambitious, yeah.
So for somebody who's maybe like heard of Proxmox, but, hasn't really gotten into it, what is it like? What's the big deal?
I mean, think of it like this. You have all these servers that you need to run, right? Maybe
Right.
different operating systems, and you don't want to go out and buy,
Right.
tons of hardware.
Yeah.
So Proxmox lets you run all these virtual machines on one physical machine.
Okay, but like, isn't that what other virtualization platforms do? What makes Proxmox special?
Well, one key difference is that Proxmox is open source.
Okay.
It's completely free to use, no proprietary software, no licensing fees.
Okay.
And it runs on Debian Linux, which is known for stability and security.
So it's kind of like getting enterprise-grade features without the enterprise-grade price tag.
Exactly. And the book really emphasizes that practical, cost-effective approach.
I see.
It doesn't just throw features at you. It shows you how to actually build
Right.
a robust and efficient virtualization environment.
I noticed that it covers both virtual machines and D containers.
Right.
I'm still a little fuzzy on the difference.
Okay.
Is that like choosing between a house and an apartment?
That's actually a really great analogy.
Okay.
So a virtual machine, KVM, is like a standalone house.
Hmm.
You have complete control over everything, but it takes up a lot more resources to build and maintain.
Yeah.
Like a container, LXC, is like an apartment in a larger building.
Okay.
You share some resources with the other tenants. But that also makes it much more lightweight and efficient.
So if I need like rock-solid isolation and different operating systems, I go with KVM.
Yeah.
But if I want to run a lot of lightweight apps and save resources, LXC would be better.
Precisely. And the book goes beyond just defining those terms. It gives you these concrete scenarios. Like, imagine running a Windows server
Right.
alongside your Linux workhorses. That's where KVM shines.
Oh, okay.
Or if you want to quickly deploy a bunch of web servers, LXC would be ideal for that.
Okay, that makes the choice a lot clearer. But,
Yeah.
running all these virtual servers, whether they're houses or apartments, that's got to put a strain on storage, right?
Absolutely. And one thing that really impressed me about this book is how seriously it takes storage.
Yeah, okay.
It covers the whole spectrum of options, from simple local disks to, much more robust solutions like ZFS and Ceph.
Yeah, I saw Ceph in there.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty complex. Is this book really for beginners?
It definitely covers advanced topics,
Okay.
but it's written in a way that makes it approachable for anyone.
Okay.
So think of Ceph as this self-organizing team of storage experts.
Okay.
Each server in your cluster contributes space,
Right.
and they all work together to make sure that your data is safe and accessible even if one server goes offline.
So it's kind of like built-in redundancy and fault tolerance.
Exactly.
That's pretty impressive. But, even with all this fancy storage, moving a virtual machine sounds kind of risky.
Right.
Can you even do that?
Well, that's where the magic of live migration comes in.
Yeah.
And yes, the book covers this in detail.
Okay.
With shared storage, you can move a virtual machine
Okay.
from one physical server to another without shutting it down.
Wait, really? So no downtime?
No downtime. It's amazing.
Wow.
So imagine you need to perform maintenance on a server.
Right.
You can seamlessly move your virtual machines to another server and keep your services running uninterrupted.
Okay, now that's something I can get behind.
Yeah.
It sounds like this book is really focused on the practical side of Proxmox, not just theory.
Absolutely. And it doesn't just tell you what to do.
Yeah.
It explains why you're doing it.
Okay.
Remember those 3 key configuration files we talked about?
Yeah.
Understanding those is like learning the language of Proxmox.
I'll be honest, before I read this book, configuration files kind of scared me.
Yeah, they can be intimidating.
But this book really broke it down.
Yeah.
Especially that storage.cfg file. It's like a blueprint for your storage setup.
Exactly.
It's really easy to understand and modify once you kind of get the hang of it.
And once you grasp those core concepts, the book goes even deeper.
Okay.
We talked about Ceph, but it also covers Open vSwitch for building these really sophisticated virtual networks.
Okay.
And even liquid cooling for data centers.
Oil-immersed servers. That sounds like science fiction.
It's becoming more common than you might think.
Really?
The book explains the pros and cons,
Okay.
the efficiency, the higher density, but also the potential costs and complexities.
Huh.
It really gets you thinking about the best solutions for your needs.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but,
Mm.
I'm also the kind of person who always runs into problems.
Right.
Does this book have my back when things go wrong?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a whole chapter on real-world troubleshooting.
Oh, no.
Imagine a fresh Proxmox install getting stuck with that dreaded, dev to be fully populated error.
Even the name sounds scary.
It can be, but the book gives you this simple Trnl plus D trick that can get you back on track during the installation.
Yeah.
Or let's say your virtual machines are running fine,
Yeah.
but the GUI shows them as offline.
Oh, that would be bad.
Yeah, turns out a quick restart of the PV proxy service can often fix that.
It's like having a cheat sheet for when Proxmox decides to throw a curveball at you.
Exactly.
So you're saying that by following this book, you'll be prepared for pretty much anything.
Pretty much.
Okay, I'm sold. This sounds like the perfect book for anyone who's serious about Proxmox.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Whether you're
Okay.
just starting out or you're a seasoned sysadmin, this book has something for everyone.
So we've got this powerful platform
Yeah.
that's open source
Uh-huh.
with a ton of features, a book that explains everything,
Right.
and a whole chapter dedicated to troubleshooting.
Right.
What more could we ask for?
Well, there's a lot more to unpack. I mean, we
Right.
haven't even talked about how the book demystifies high availability, which is crucial for mission-critical applications.
All right, so it sounds like we've got a lot more ground to cover.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break,
Okay.
and we'll dive back into the world of Proxmox with Mastering Proxmox 2nd Edition after this.
Sounds good. So, one of the things I really appreciate about this book is that it addresses a lot of the concerns that pop up when you're actually setting up a Proxmox environment.
I know.
Like we talk about the flexibility of shared storage, right?
Right.
But doesn't that create a single point of failure?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Like what if that storage goes down?
Yeah, it's all fun and games until
Well-
your storage decides to take a vacation.
Exactly. And that's where high availability comes in, which
Cool.
thankfully the book covers extensively.
Okay.
It really digs into how Proxmox HA works, the key components involved, and how to configure it properly.
So Proxmox HA is like an insurance policy for your servers.
Yeah.
Just making sure they stay up and running even if something bad happens.
Exactly. It's like having a backup server just waiting in the wings, ready to take over if the primary one crashes.
So the book actually walks you through that whole process.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just theoretical. It gives you step-by-step instructions.
That's good.
It covers things like setting up your shared storage, configuring fencing to isolate failed nodes, and even making sure your backup servers have that, BIOS power on feature.
Oh, yeah.
Because what good is a backup server if it can't even turn itself on right?
That's a good point.
Those little details can really make a difference.
Does the book offer any advice on how to actually test your HA setup?
Oh, it does.
Because you don't want to wait for like a real disaster to find out it doesn't work.
You don't want to find out the hard way.
Right.
The book even talks about the Proxmox HA simulator,
Okay.
which lets you simulate different failures and see how your cluster responds in real time.
So it's like a fire drill for your servers. That's great.
You can rest easy knowing that you're prepared for anything.
So you're saying that if I follow this book, I'll be able to handle pretty much any Proxmox emergency.
I mean, within reason, yes.
Okay.
The book is just packed with all these little tips and tricks that you can only really learn from experience.
So it's like having a Proxmox veteran whispering in your ear.
Exactly.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about virtual machines.
Okay.
We've touched on KVM a little, but the book goes into a lot more depth, right?
Oh, yeah. It has a whole section dedicated to creating, configuring, and managing KVM virtual machines.
I really like how the book uses the analogy of building a custom computer, but like in the digital realm.
It's a great analogy.
Yeah, you can choose the operating system, the amount of RAM, the number of virtual CPU cores. It's like you're assembling the perfect machine for the job.
And it doesn't shy away from the technical details either.
Oh, okay.
It explains things like emulated CPU types, memory ballooning, even direct hardware access with host-pretty pass-through.
Post-pretty pass-through. What is that?
So that's a way to give a virtual machine direct access to a piece of hardware on your host server.
Okay.
So for example, if you have a really powerful graphics card, you could pass that through to a VM to get like near native performance for graphics-intensive applications.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really cool.
But wouldn't that limit your ability to do live migration?
You're exactly right.
Yeah, because if it's tied to specific hardware, you can't really move it around.
Yeah, that's one of the trade-offs. And the book does a really good job of explaining these nuances so you can make an informed decision
Okay.
based on what your priorities are.
That makes sense. So we've built our virtual machines. We've got them running smoothly. But what about security?
Mm-hmm.
Are these virtual servers as secure as their physical counterparts?
That's where the Proxmox firewall comes in.
Okay.
And you guessed it, the book has an entire chapter on this as well.
Oh, wow.
It breaks down how the firewall works, how to configure it to protect your whole cluster, and even how to lock down individual VMs.
So it's not just about building a wall around your Proxmox environment. It's about having that fine-grained control over what each virtual machine can actually do.
Exactly. You can set up different security zones, almost like virtual DMZs, to isolate sensitive traffic.
Okay.
And it goes beyond the basic allow or deny rules.
Oh, wow.
It covers things like TCP flag filtering, different firewall actions. It's like a mini course on network security tailored specifically for Proxmox.
It's amazing how this book manages to cover all these different topics without feeling overwhelming.
Right. It strikes that perfect balance between depth and accessibility.
Yeah, you're learning practical skills, but you're also getting a much deeper understanding of how Proxmox works under the hood.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, we talked about troubleshooting earlier.
Yeah.
But does the book go into like specific problems and solutions?
Oh, yeah. The troubleshooting chapter is a lifesaver.
Okay.
It's like a field guide to Proxmox emergencies.
Nice.
It covers everything from installation hiccups to network issues, kernel panics, even backup woes.
It's the real deal, huh?
It's the real deal, and I really like how it presents each problem.
Yeah.
It describes the symptoms, walks you through diagnosing the issue step by step.
Yeah.
It's like having a Proxmox doctor on call 24/7.
I have to admit, I was a little intimidated by Proxmox before we started talking about this book.
Yeah, it can seem daunting at first.
But now I'm feeling a lot more confident.
That's the power of a good book.
Yeah, it really demystified the whole thing.
It's approachable, understandable, even fun.
All right, I'm ready for more. What else does this book have in store for us?
Okay, so we're back and ready to kind of wrap up our look at Proxmox with Mastering Proxmox 2nd Edition.
Okay.
And what really strikes me about this book is just how much it covers.
Yeah, it's a lot.
We've talked about virtualization, storage, networking, security, troubleshooting.
It's the whole package.
It really is like a complete education on Proxmox.
And it's all in one place, which is nice.
And it's well written, too. It's not like dry and boring.
No, it's surprisingly engaging for a technical book. Yeah, even when they get into those advanced topics, like Ceph storage,
Yeah.
it's still written in a way that's easy to understand.
Yeah, they do a good job of breaking things down.
Yeah, I remember that analogy with Ceph being like a self-organizing team of storage experts.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That really helped me visualize it.
Analogies are great for that.
And this book is full of them.
Yeah, they really make learning Proxmox fun.
Speaking of fun, we have to talk about one of the most interesting things in this book. Liquid cooling.
Oh, yeah.
Oil-immersed servers.
Sounds crazy, right?
It sounds like something out of a movie.
It's like straight out of science fiction.
But the book actually takes it seriously.
Oh, yeah, they dedicate a whole section to it.
They explain how it can make your data center so much more efficient.
Right.
And quiet.
Way quieter.
That's always a plus.
Especially if you have to work in there.
But come on, let's be real.
Okay.
Isn't liquid cooling super expensive?
It can be. Yeah, the upfront costs are definitely higher.
And complicated to set up.
There's a learning curve for sure.
So is it really worth it?
Well, the book argues that the long-term savings
Okay.
can actually make it a really smart investment.
Okay, how so?
You're using less energy.
Yeah.
And you don't need as much traditional cooling infrastructure.
So it's not just about being cool.
It's about being cost-effective.
Right.
And the book does a good job of presenting a balanced perspective.
Oh?
They talk about the different types of liquid cooling,
Yeah.
the pros and cons of each approach.
So you can make an informed decision.
Exactly.
It sounds like this book really gives you the tools to build a solid Proxmox infrastructure.
Yeah, it's not just a manual.
Right.
It's a guide to building something really great.
It's like a blueprint for a futuristic data center.
Yeah, and encourages you to experiment,
Yeah.
to try different things to see what works best for you.
That's the beauty of Proxmox, right?
Totally. It's open source, it's flexible, it's powerful.
Yeah. And with a book like this, you can really do anything.
The possibilities are endless.
You can tell that the authors are really passionate about Proxmox.
Yeah.
They want you to get the most out of it.
They want you to understand it deeply.
Yeah. And to use it to build something amazing.
It's inspiring.
Okay. Before we wrap things up, I want to talk about one more thing.
Okay.
The real-world scenarios in this book.
Oh, yeah. Those are great.
It's one thing to learn about Proxmox in theory,
Right.
but it's another thing to see how it's actually being used.
Exactly. It makes it feel more real.
Like, there's this one scenario about a research institution.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one.
They're using Proxmox to manage this huge high-performance computing cluster.
They're doing some serious number crunching.
Yeah, it shows you what Proxmox is capable of.
Yeah, if they can use it for that, you can use it for anything.
And then there's the small business that's using Proxmox to create virtual desktops.
Oh yeah, so their employees can work from anywhere.
Yeah.
It's so versatile.
Those scenarios really bring the book to life.
Yeah, they show you that Proxmox is more than just an idea.
It's a tool that people are using to solve real problems.
And to achieve real goals.
So if you're serious about learning Proxmox,
Yeah,
this book is a must-have.
I agree. It's clear, comprehensive, practical, even inspiring.
Well, that about wraps up our look at Proxmox.
Yeah.
We hope you learned something.
And we hope you're as excited about Proxmox as we are.
And if you want to learn more,
Yeah.
check out Mastering Proxmox 2nd Edition.
It's a great book.
That's it for today.
See you next time.
Happy virtualizing.